please, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So here is my notes page. Just my good notes. Make them larger. So standard 2 is essentially, why does it say all that? Standard 2 is essentially domain 2 in the exam. And while it doesn't make up the largest sort of percentage of your exam, it's so very vitally important as far as like you being able to carry out the things that you planned in domain 1. Remember, just as a review, because as a teacher, if we're teaching anything, we want to review what we discussed last week or yesterday for the cases, for the case of classroom. Standard 1 is domain 1. And domain 1 is mostly about instruction and assessment. And those two things, let me get my handy dandy marker, I think that's what it is. Instruction, assessment, they are cyclical in a circle. We plan instruction and then we assess. And we don't assess, as are things that we talked about last time, just by giving multiple choice exams or exams at all or quizzes. An assessment is a gathering of data that helps us ascertain mastery of something or quality of something, if you will, right? Because you can assess a thing for quality and a person for mastery. So we don't assess just to give grades, like whoever is the valedictorian. That's not why we do it. We do it because we need that information. In a lab, or if you're an engineer with vehicles, you're doing assessments on the cars as you're an engineer, and we literally are engineers of humans. Our goal is to make rational, kind, reasonable, critically thinking, and confident individuals in society. Like if you read every single content area of TEXES, which I have personally, the goal is the same. We want people in society that can do things and in a way that's productive for everyone, right? We want for them to feel good about themselves, but also to be able to interact with people and to contribute to society as a whole. That's the goal. You guys are engineers of people, and we have certain objectives we want for them to get as we go along. And we can't just plan and then give a test run and that's it. We have to continue to check for understanding in our case. And in our case, it's not just simple mechanics and machinery. Again, from standard 1, hold on, let me move this out of the way. From standard 1, we're dealing with students who are diverse in so many ways. Diversity can appear by skill level. They come to you and you're a math teacher, what skill level are they at? They come to you and you're Spanish 1, what skill level are they at? Are they beginner or are they somewhere intermediate? If they come to you in English language arts, what is their oral language proficiency? What skill level? You're going to have a difference in the obvious ones: culture, gender, socioeconomic. You're going to have interests, right? They're going to be different as far as like, what are they interested in? And that matters. A long time ago, when I first started teaching, I feel like the people who were veteran teachers at that time, Marco, get out of here. They were not hip to the whole changes in pedagogy. In pedagogy. There was a lot of talk in the conference room, like, well, I'm not going to like put on a song and dance for these students, you know, or like a show to get them to learn English or to get them to learn math. And actually you do, not a song and show, but you do have to take those people into consideration, and especially if they're struggling. Obviously, we're not going to plan a lesson for everybody's particular interest, for their particular culture. But especially if they're struggling, are we going to utilize their interest? Like maybe they're struggling in motivation, in engagement, in understanding. Sometimes even a misunderstanding and comprehension, when you put it in the terms of the things that they like, it makes the difference. So knowing who your students are, their language proficiency. And I say this as ELL students, like for our English language learners, they're acquiring a second language simultaneously as they're going through our classrooms, for the ELLs, and also for native English speakers. We do not have the best of the best as far as like scores nationally for reading, for writing, for mathematics, as far as like when we're compared to other countries. Our oral language proficiency, and science has dictated and said to us, oral language proficiency is so very important to the thriving and the development in every aspect of life. So if I have the ability to listen and speak proficiently, I'm able to articulate my needs, understand my misunderstandings. Like I understood your message enough to know that I didn't understand it and to ask for specifics. That oral language proficiency, that confidence, that agency and ability to speak in many areas of life. And we want that for them across all the academic areas. So not just in English, we want them to be proficient speakers when they're talking about multiplication and like base tens. We want them to be utilizing that content specific vocabulary. And so it's not just for our ELLs, it also is for our native English speakers, because the United States and specifically Texas, we are very low on oral language proficiency. Which is not good, because we know that it's necessary for achievement in all areas of life and obviously academics. So knowing your students is very important. Knowing them in order to make them comfortable, important. So we're going to take this really quickly and we're going to highlight standard 2, which is, like I said, domain 2. And while it doesn't make up the largest percentage of the exam, it's so very important. And you cannot do everything else well if standard 2 or domain 2 is messed up. And that is the teacher creating a classroom environment of respect where nobody feels less than, shamed. Maybe they have an accent. Everybody in my classroom is going to know that if you have an accent, that means that you speak 2 languages at least, and you use more of your brain than most of the population on this planet. So that's really, really cool. And I just frame it that way from the very beginning. And I even tell an anecdote about my grandma and how amazing and brilliant she was, and how, you know, English was her second language. And sometimes she would say share, or can I have a shit of paper? And all my cousins would giggle. But I mean, I never laughed at her, but I don't know. I loved that she spoke Spanish and English, and I had this like very profound love of my heritage as a result of her. And that extended to my study of linguistics later on. So in order for students, especially our ELLs, like especially them, but even our native English speakers, they don't have all the good vocabulary and all the good words to say. Do you think that they are going to engage in a class discussion where there are people that have all of the words, all of the amazing words to say about it. And so we have to build opportunities for students to work together and also create an environment in which you can make mistakes. In fact, mistakes are where, this is where I want you to make mistakes. And if you've watched my videos, you've heard me say that before. I always say that to my students, and I mean it so profusely. I literally don't want you to make a mistake on the test. Please make all the mistakes necessary here today. That's what learning is about. It's trial and error and negotiating new things until you've got it. And so mistakes are perfectly natural. And if you frame that your classroom in such a way, then students are more confident and they feel less anxious about bringing up their mistakes to you, because we need, especially in math, we need them to say like, I didn't get that, or I got it wrong. Or because if you're checking for understanding and say, who got it right? Or who got it wrong? Nobody's going to want to raise their hand. Like, I don't want to say I got it wrong. I'm just not going to say anything, and I'd rather just fail this whole class. That is the student's way of handling with it. Their brains are not fully developed. We have to foster this positive climate for learning. Where making mistakes is totally normal, because like, this is actually where we need to make mistakes. This is where it happens. Like, this is where the mistake magic happens up in here, and then knowledge blooms. It's like mistake and magic and then knowledge. But it's trial and error. And so they need to have that positive climate for learning, a sense that they are equal always. I don't care if I'm with the judge's daughter and my mom works 2 jobs and she's a single mom and part of the working poor. I need to feel as valuable as the judge's daughter in the class. And in order, and guess who controls that? You can't put up a poster to make somebody feel comfortable. That is you, that is your behaviors, that is the way that you talk to people to make them feel important. You set the tone for the classroom. And as always, just like as if I'm teaching English language arts or math, and I model, and my students watch me as I model a particular skill, they're watching, and that's how they learn. Even though we're not explicitly teaching, our behaviors model for them behaviors, just like their parents are modeling behaviors. And we might get some, undesirable behaviors as a result of home life, but it's our job to rectify those in order to continue to keep this environment of respect, rapport that fosters positive climate for learning and equity, but that also tries to rectify the student that's having difficulty. Not like, as long as everyone else is okay and I'm sending you to the office, or I'm sending you to the principal, I'm not going to deal with you. You can win over any single child by caring. I promise you. If they are breaking all the rules in your classroom, I would bet any amount of money that horrible things are going on in their life, or traumatic things, what they would consider horrible, are going on in their life. I've never met a student in my 16 plus years of teaching that did not want to achieve the goals I had set for them because I believed in them, or make it through the day without having some sort of behavioral something, because I cared for them. And because I said, I care for all of you guys, which is why I'm going to treat you equal, and which is why I expect everybody to sort of maintain this level of excellence and expectation so that we can all enjoy in the fun. But you dictate that. The teacher, look at this word, look at this verb right here. You are creating a learning environment where you're it's like you are the sun that shines down on the student. Remember I said we have these little specimens, or we're engineers. Pedagogy is an art, it's a science, it's a craft. You guys are the sun with which the students can grow. You create and set the tone for the classroom. You observe and catalog and sort of keep track of all of the data by means of assessment in order to create better instruction for them or things that would help them in their particular areas of need. So you guys are like, I always say this, but teachers should get way more money. I would say, like, if I had to choose, I would start teachers off at like 100,000, easy 100,000. It is literally the most important job in society. And the state knows it, which is why in all of their TEKS, it says like, this is really important for the state of Texas and like the world. Yeah, it is. We create every single profession that there is. There are students that come from terrible homes that go and they become doctors because people believed in them and they told them, you can do this, you can do it. We're the game changers, the MVPs. And I wish with all my heart that you guys and that all of the teachers were paid commensurate to the impact on the planet, on the earth, on society, that education and specifically not just education, but teachers, because you guys are the MVPs, creating a classroom environment where people feel respected, even if they don't feel respected at home. And it has nothing to do with socioeconomic. I have had rich kids who feel ignored, who feel belittled. Their parents are rich, give them everything, and they never talk to them. And they're just like so thirsty for here is a puppy and a visitor, so thirsty for attention and acknowledgement and someone to say feedback. Even you're doing a really good job. So let's take a look. Creating an environment of respect and rapport. And you see that big section here, respect and rapport. See how those two key words are sort of elaborated into this grouping of standards? That's sort of the way that the exam is. You're going to have keywords and phrases that they say to you via the scenarios, and you have to say, oh, I know what they have to do when they're talking about these keywords and phrases. So with respect to, oh, another puppy, and here is another puppy and another child. So hold on, I'm almost done, my love. So I apologize. So the importance of creating a learning environment in which diversity and individual differences are respected. So important that there's a level playing field, first and foremost. Nobody's better than anybody else. I don't care what kind of skills and level that you're at. Nobody's better than anyone else. And our diversity is where we get strength. It's where we get such rich and fruitful conversations and small learning groups, because students come with different perspectives to discuss particular ideas, particular concepts, particular processes, bringing in different prior knowledge from their varied experiences. And that is so very important, even on a biological level. Some people, when their guts stop working, the remedy is to do this sort of enema with a culture of someone else's fecal matter. That sort of, it's not their fecal matter, it's like whatever, they cleansed it or something, but essentially that's where it came from. And they're introducing someone else's colon bacteria into your bacteria. That diversity of bacteria stimulates the colon of the person back into functioning. So remarkable. And diversity is always a strength, always a strength, and which is why it needs to be valued and respected. So as students interact with students in a way that supports or respects for all students and their varied backgrounds, lifestyles, interests. So you would never say, if a student said like, oh, I love anime, say like, oh my God, I hate anime, that's so boring. You would never say that to a student, even if that's how you felt. Your job is to your job is not to like tell truth at all times. Your job is to create a classroom environment of respect and rapport that fosters a positive climate. Now, you shouldn't really hate anything, but if you were to say that would, and especially if they liked you enough to tell you that, they might feel like bad about themselves, or even stop liking something that was a creative outlet. And so we have to be careful. We are the creators of this atmosphere that either makes it or breaks it with regards to the students being able to achieve the things that we've planned for them. So the impact of teacher-student interactions and interactions among students, very important that we have them interacting at all times. Learning cannot take place in isolation. I mean, it can, but it's going to be difficult and it's not going to be fruitful. So we know how the brain works, and it's not sitting there with a book and you just reading out of there or copying letters over and over again to make you remember, or learn to read. We know best practice based on science. And so utilizing that, creating that classroom climate and giving students opportunities to really engage with each other and speak always speaking. Use strategies that ensure that the classroom environment interactions among individuals and groups within the classroom promote active engagement and learning. To have active engagement, you need to do things that are interesting to them. I use the example of anime because I never was a fan. And one of my students as a high school teacher said, Miss Sauceda, I really like anime. Do you think you could get any anime books for my private classroom? Because I would take suggestions. If you really like something, you want to suggest it to me to read, awesome. And I'll even if I didn't read it, I would add it to my bookshelf, and I would have friends, they were so sweet, that did like fancy jobs, they were like bankers or like lawyers, and they would gift my classroom books from Barnes and Noble, and it would be part of my private class. It was kind of cool and something that teachers have to do, and they shouldn't have to, but I added those, and that addition made my student think like I'm valuable enough for my teacher to listen to my interests and then add it there. I knew, it was kind of a selfish thing. Getting her to read things that she's interested in is equivalent or possibly better than trying to force her to read other things. She's going to actively do the reading. She has that internal buy-in, that intrinsic motivation now to read the book because she already likes it and she's already sold. So utilizing strategies like that to engage students in the learning whenever possible, utilizing your knowledge of them, you and who you are, and you're important here. The importance of communicating enthusiasm for learning. If you are a math teacher, please do not say, I am not good at math. Like, I am very bad at math, but actually I wanted to be the PE coach, but they put me here until, like, never say that. I've heard people say things like that, or say like, I don't like poetry, and you're an English teacher, like maybe you like writing and reading, but not necessarily poetry. You want to always, and if you don't like it, I guarantee you it's because you feel confused by it and you just need a little bit of instruction, and then you're you're on it. So the importance of communicating enthusiasm in learning and understanding that if something is challenging, that doesn't make it bad. That just means that we need to come at it a different way. Maybe we're not utilizing our own learning preference to ingest the information, and that's why we don't understand it as well. So continuing that high quality and sort of like you believe in everything that you're learning. The necessity of communicating teacher expectations for student learning. You have to have goals for them. You have to make sure they know the objectives that you're going to be assessing, right? So if I'm going to be assessing whether or not they can identify diction correctly in order to ascertain an author's tone or attitude towards a subject, I need to put that there. They need to know where they're going. That's the mark. You can't, it's like throwing the ball and not knowing who am I throwing to on the field? Who's going to get, it's without the play. The objective is the play. This is what we're going to do. We're going to do, like, I don't know any play, so I can't even like do that analogy. But so you need to give them a this is what we're doing. This is where we're going. And these are the expectations that I have. If you're going to assess them, let them know I'm at the end of this, I'm going to walk about and I'm going to check for understanding. Or you're going to have to write an essay at the end of the 6 weeks. Show them what they're doing and where are they going, right? You don't like to walk into a room with the lights turned off. That's with what entering a classroom where you don't know what the objective or like what you're supposed to be doing right now, or like how you can master it, or the plan of action. It's just like going through like blind. We don't want to do that. We want to give them a pathway and have markers for them to begin to sort of assess their understanding and their knowledge. Okay, guys, I'm so sorry, but I'm going to have to let you guys go until next week. But I would like to just stop and ask, do you guys have any particular questions? And let me make sure I have everybody down so I can give you credit. I have to go purchase dog puppy formula. Every 2 days, I'm purchasing puppy formula. It's nuts. I go and I buy out the whole store. It's nuts. I don't even know what to do with myself anymore. So I have 3 dogs and I'm not going to keep them all. But my girls are trying to convince me to keep them all. And I'm like, girls, we cannot. I did agree to 2, but even 2, I'm like, I can't. Yeah, I know. So I know there's a lot of poop and there's a lot of feeding at this point. They just turned 4 weeks. And I'm just so glad that they were able to make it to 4 weeks, because we've had Nyla Marie since she was about 6 weeks, and she would have turned 9 in a couple of months. So her passing was super hard on like all the kids and everyone. So we're glad to have her puppies, but it's not the same. I just want my sweet girl back. Yes, I was just told about Chewy. So I'm gonna start going on there, because I've gone PetSmart. I've bought them out several times. I've like cleared them out several times. Somebody told me go to HB, go to Walmart. I had to Google which ones had it. There was like a super Walmart kind of, far away from me that I went to, and they actually had it, and I was so grateful. Well, I cleared them out. Well, they haven't restocked, and I'm like, dude, what? I don't know. I guess people don't have puppies anymore. I didn't expect to have puppies, so I'm gonna do Chewy tonight. Yeah, that's what I was told. And for the pee pads too, I was told everything is better price. So I'm gonna go on there right now to get it, because, excuse me, I already have worker friends, because the first day I went, the cashier, he's so sweet. So I'm there and I'm like, my dog has just died. And the vet or the hospital gave me the puppies. They were like, good luck, in a box or whatever. And they were like, go buy food. And so I'm there like just sobbing and like buying formula. And this man probably thought I was a lunatic. And so he's charging me. He doesn't say anything. And then he gives me the receipt, and he comes around. He said, I'm sorry, but you just look like you really need a hug. And I was like, I do. like he gave me this hug. And I've seen him several times since I've gone back to like buy pee pads or whatever. And he even said, like, you look better. I'm like, thank you. I can't even imagine what I looked like on that day. But thank you for the suggestion. Does it? Oh my goodness. I am going to. Yes. I certainly can, Julie. I will have them open it up for you, and then you can schedule it and continue watching the videos. And if you schedule it with enough time, certainly come in on Wednesdays. Next week, we're going to continue on domain 2 and then move to domain standard 3, domain 3, which is sort of the second leg, if you will, of standard 1 and domain 1. So we planned for instruction for all students. Now we need to implement it effectively in our classroom, where we're giving feedback and the activities and communication are on point. So that is what standard 3 and domain 3 are mostly about. And that's what we'll do next week. Excellent. I'm so glad, Giselle, that that's helpful for you guys. I do try to do my best. Look at I hear like flying by the seat of my pants. But if you have any questions, certainly email, text me, and remember that I'm always available between 9 and 11 for the office hours. So if you get a chance to pop in, you have a pressing question, you can always join in. Okay, bye guys. See you later. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful rest of your week at Wisconsin. Okay.